I just noticed these. Nikki Ramirez at Media Matters, who we've had on the show several times, she put up an article this morning. Tucker Carlson said that the national vaccination effort is the greatest public policy failure of all time because people are still dying when, in his words, we have universal vaccination, which is not true. Less than 60% of the US population is still fully vaccinated. Only 70% has received at least one dose. And I defy you to come up with a single person more responsible for that gap than Tucker Carlson. But after a year and a half of doing everything he can to get you to not be vaccinated, he will then claim that everyone is vaccinated and it doesn't matter because they're still dying. And bear in mind, earlier this month, he had Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on to say that vaccines cause autism. Carlson ended that segment by saying, will any thinking person ever trust vaccines again? Carlson has also, in multiple instances, claimed that the COVID vaccine is killing thousands of people. He also brought in Alex Berenson, this is just like a week ago, to say there's just no evidence that the vaccines halt infection or transmission in any way. None of that is true. All of that is a lie. All of it is designed to stop people from getting vaccinated so that more people will still get COVID, die from COVID, and then they can claim that the Democrats are the ones that always want a new variant. The Democrats are the ones who want the pandemic to continue when they are working 24/7 to make sure that people continue to get COVID and die from it.
That's it. I mean, you want to talk about people having blood on their hands. This deliberate misinformation. And when you wrap a situation like this, John, like a global pandemic, into who's a Democrat and who's a Republican, to me, it lies the problem. This is a matter for humanity, not about who's the Democrat or who's the Republican, but about humanity. And so if they could just see it through that lens, even if you don't believe the vaccines work, okay, we're gonna put that in the parking lot. Let's listen to what the medical experts have to say about the best way to tame this thing. And we're learning more and more as we go. We know more now than we knew in 2019. And you have people working every single day in labs, just trying to find the ultimate fix for this. But what we do know for sure is that all of us bear some responsibility in trying to slow the spread and to tame this thing. Yep. We all do. And it's just something wrong with those people. It really is. I mean, I don't even know what else to say, John, on the PG-13 show. It is something wrong with them. And all they care about is their clicks and their headlines. And they don't care if these people believe what they're spewing and these people die. We don't have Medicare for all in this country. So to say people, you have natural immunity, just get it. Well, what if you just get it and you die, or you get it and you're in the hospital for days, for weeks, for months? Your quality of life never the same. And then you're stuck with hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars worth of medical bills.
Yeah.
What the hell?
100%, and possibly symptoms, organ damage, loss of senses,
right, for the rest of your life.
Jesus, but if you in a few years, when we know more about long COVID, and we have literally millions of Americans who are suffering from the experience of that on a daily basis, I'm sure the Republican Party will be there to make sure that they're well taken care of and their suffering is minimized. No, everything that you just said there is 100% right. And look, it's one of my issues is fundamentally, as a strategy to stop people from getting infected with COVID, saying you should get natural immunity is a weird way to go about that. If I were to tell you the best way to protect your belongings from a fire is to burn that mother down, you would be a bit suspicious, wouldn't you? But for some reason it works with them. And we, more so now than before, people are less focused on the pandemic. Even here at the Damage Report, we've done literally thousands of videos about the pandemic. We talk about it less than we did. We used to, back in the beginning, talk about how many people were getting sick and how many were dying quite frequently, almost on a daily basis. It has been a bit since we did that. I don't know if most of the people watching this look it up independently. I still do. The last reported day of deaths had nearly 900 still. every single day has 900 or 1,000, and we just don't care. That is the product of all of what we've debated ad nauseum day after day, all of the nonsense about natural immunity and herd immunity and how we just have to let people get sick and vaccines, I don't know, they're super suspicious, should we really get it? We lost 900 people yesterday. And there's just no empathy, there's no empathy. And I wanna ask you one last question, Nina. So Biden presumably doesn't want there to be this pandemic. He's encouraged vaccine mandates and things like that. In theory, he could have gone farther, but he's done a good bit to make sure that we have access to this, that the boosters are made available and all that. So they're blaming him anyway, even though presumably they're blaming him for something that they don't care about, but somehow they care about it when it's his fault. So at this point, what should the White House actually do? Like, if the goal is still to stop the pandemic from continuing and from getting worse, they're not gonna change. They're clearly not gonna change. So what should the White House do?
Well, I think the approach, this is not about just what the White House is going to do. Certainly showing some leadership on this and saying, hey, we gotta get the vaccine out. We gotta make sure people have access to boosters. We gotta protect. That's well and good. But I really do believe, John, that the White House should not be the messenger. Big Mama should be the messenger. We need respected community leaders, people who live, work, and play in these communities, primarily elders, because there is, in many cultures, American culture, we certainly could do a better job. But you know what I mean? When we go from the macro to the micro, the whole notion of who the message is coming from. Is that person authentic? Are they trusted? That more of this messaging should be more of the messaging, or the messenger should be somebody that's closer to the people who we're asking to take the shot. I really believe that more community organizations who are out there doing the work of helping and loving on communities on a regular basis, we need to uplift them more and empower them more instead of people with fancy titles. I do believe that would help. Not to say that politicians shouldn't come out and say, hey, I think you should take this. These are the reasons why. They should. But to me, empowering the people who are closest to the pain in this situation, the people who have the street credibility, would be a better way to go.
Yeah. And hopefully it would be a little bit harder for Fox News to smear those local community leaders as Mengele.
That's exactly right.
No, that's a good idea. I think they should do that. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.